I was 6,000 feet above the city when the ground opened like a mouth, not gradually, not with warning. 1 second the streets below were normal. Cars moving, people walking, smoke rising from chimneys in straight vertical lines. The next second, the earth split. A crack appeared in the center of the city, massive, dark, running north to south like a surgical incision. And everything, buildings, streets, vehicles, lives, began sliding inward, toward that impossible opening, toward darkness that shouldn't exist. The controls of my B-29 superfortress vibrated in my hands, cold aluminum, heavy, unresponsive. We'd hit turbulence, but not normal turbulence. This was different, chaotic, like the air itself was being pulled downward. My breath fogged the cockpit glass. I wiped it away with my glove, looked down again. The city was folding, that's the only word, folding, like paper being creased down the middle. Blocks split apart, streets buckled upward at the edges and downward at the center. Lights flickered across entire districts, then died all at once, thousands of lights extinguishing simultaneously as if someone had cut the main power to reality itself. Dust erupted from the crack, silent. No sound reached us at this altitude, but I could see the cloud rising, thick, brown, consuming the city from the center outward. And through that dust, I could see the fracture widening, the ground pulling apart, revealing darkness beneath. Not darkness like shadow, darkness like void. Like the earth had been hollow all along, and something had finally broken through the shell. My radio crackled, static. Then Lieutenant Morrison's voice from the bombardier position. "Skipper, are you seeing this?" His voice shook. I'd flown with Morrison for 8 months, 32 missions. I'd never heard fear in his voice, not over Germany, not over the Pacific, not ever. Until now. "I see it," I said. My own voice sounded distant, mechanical, like someone else was speaking through me. "What do we do?" That was Kowalski. Tail gunner, farm boy from Wisconsin, 20 years old. He sounded like he was crying. I didn't answer because I didn't know. The city below continued its impossible collapse. I could see civilians, tiny dots from this altitude, running, but running where? The crack was spreading, branching like lightning frozen in earth, secondary fractures splitting off from the main wound, entire neighborhoods sliding into the darkness, buildings tilting, falling inward, not collapsing like demolition, falling intact, whole, as if being swallowed. The horizon bent. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, looked again. The horizon was bending, curving downward toward the city. Like reality was warping around that central wound. My instruments spun, altimeter dropping though I hadn't descended, compass rotating slowly clockwise. Artificial horizon tilted 15 degrees even though I could feel we were level. The B-29 groaned, metal stressed beyond design. We were heavy aircraft, solid, stable, but something was pulling us. Gravity didn't feel right, didn't feel normal. In seconds, I realized this wasn't war, this wasn't bombing or combat or anything human. This was something older, something that had been waiting beneath the city all along. And we'd just watched it wake up. No one ever asked what we saw that day. They buried every report, every photograph, every testimony. But the sky never forgets. And neither do I. Stay with me until the end and subscribe, because no one else has ever heard this. To understand how I ended up above that dying city, we need to go back. Back to when I was 23 years old and believed flying a B-29 was the greatest honor a man could have. Back to when the war made sense. Back to when physics worked the way it was supposed to. My name is Robert Hayes. I'm 81 years old now. I live in a retirement home in Phoenix, Arizona, where the sky is always clear and planes pass overhead every few minutes, heading to Sky Harbor Airport. I watch them. I always watch them. And I remember when flying meant something different, when the sky held secrets we weren't supposed to see. I joined the Army Air Forces in 1943. I was engineering student at Ohio State. Good grades, good future. But the war was everywhere: posters, radio broadcasts, newsreels showing B-17s over Europe, showing carrier planes in the Pacific, showing young men doing something important, something that mattered. I couldn't stay in school while other men fought, so I enlisted. My father shook my hand. My mother cried. My younger sister gave me her good luck charm, a small brass compass that I kept in my flight jacket pocket for every mission. It's in a box now, on my nightstand. I still take it out sometimes and remember. They sent me to flight school in Texas, Randolph Field, then advanced training in California. They taught us navigation, instrument flying, formation flying, high-altitude procedures. And they introduced us to the B-29, the super fortress, Boeing's masterpiece, the most advanced bomber ever built, pressurized cabins so we could fly at 30,000 feet without oxygen masks, remote-controlled gun turrets, range to reach targets no other aircraft could touch. It was beautiful, massive, complex. Flying, it felt like conducting an orchestra. Every system had to work perfectly. Every crew member had to perform their role exactly. When it all came together, when you had a good crew and good conditions, there was nothing like it. You felt invincible, like you could reach any target, accomplish any mission. They assigned me to the 504th Bomb Group in late 1944. We deployed to Tinian Island in the Pacific, small island, barely more than airstrips and tents and supply dumps. Hot, humid, coral dust everywhere, but it was close to Japan, close enough that our B-29s could reach the home islands, could strike at the industrial heart of the empire, could bring the war to the enemy's doorstep. My crew consisted of 11 men. 11 lives I was responsible for. Lieutenant Morrison was my bombardier, Harvard graduate, brilliant navigator, could calculate wind drift in his head. Sergeant Chen was flight engineer, Chinese-American, knew the B-29 systems better than Boeing's designers. Kowalski was tail gunner, young but steady. Corporal Davis handled radio. Corporal Martinez and Private Thompson manned the waist guns. Lieutenant Williams was co-pilot, solid, reliable, never panicked. The others, Parker, Gomez, Reed, rounded out the crew. We trained together, flew together, trusted each other. By March 1945, we'd completed 28 missions. We'd bombed factories, rail yards, ports. We'd seen fighters, flak, fires. We'd lost aircraft, lost friends. But we'd survived. We were good, experienced. We thought we'd seen everything war could show us. The mission briefing came on March 19, 1945. We gathered in the operations tent at 0400 hours, 30 crews, 300 men, all exhausted, all counting missions until we could go home. Colonel Patterson did the briefing. He looked worse than us. Grey, thin, carrying the weight of sending men to die. "Target is Nagoya," Patterson said, pointing at the map. "Industrial district, aircraft factories, machine shops. Secondary targets include rail yards and port facilities. This is a daylight precision raid. We need these factories destroyed. Intelligence indicates fighter resistance will be heavy. Flak moderate to intense. Weather looks good. Ceiling 20,000 feet, visibility 10 miles. Formation will be tight, stay in formation. Drop on lead signal, return to base." Standard briefing. Standard target, standard risks. Nothing suggested this would be different from 28 previous missions. We filed out, drew flight gear, collected parachutes and survival kits, walked to the flight line where our B-29 waited. I'd named her Lucky Linda after my sister. Nose art showed a woman with a 4-leaf clover. Chen had painted it. He was good artist. We took off at 0630 hours. 30 B-29s, engines roaring, dust clouds rising, heavy loads. Full fuel tanks, full bomb loads, 10 tons of bombs per aircraft, enough to erase entire city blocks. We climbed slowly, formed up over the ocean, turned northwest, toward Japan, toward Nagoya. The sun rose behind us, turned the ocean gold. Beautiful morning, perfect flying weather. The flight took 4 hours. 4 hours of engine noise, vibration, cold. Even with the pressurized cabin, it was cold at altitude. We wore heated suits, but they never worked well enough. I could see my breath, could feel cold seeping through the aluminum skin of the aircraft. Morrison navigated, called out checkpoints, islands, ships, cloud formations, everything normal, everything routine. We'd done this 28 times before. Japan appeared through the haze at 10:15 hours. Coastline, mountains, cities. From 6,000 meters it looked peaceful, beautiful even, green, ordered. Hard to believe we were at war. Hard to remember that down there were people who wanted to kill us, people we were going to kill. We descended to bombing altitude, 20,000 feet. Formation tightened, aircraft so close I could see other pilots, could see other crews at their stations, could see bomb bay doors opening in sequence. Morrison called out landmarks. IP in 5 minutes. Initial point, where we'd begin the bomb run, where we'd fly straight and level, where we'd become targets, and that's when I saw the city, Nagoya, sprawling across the plain, larger than I expected, more alive. I could see streets, buildings, factories with smokestacks, docks along the bay, cars moving, trains, people, hundreds of thousands of people, living their lives, going to work, not knowing that 30 American bombers were about to drop 300 tons of high explosives on them. Morrison prepared the bomb site. Bomb bay doors open. I felt the drag increase. Aircraft slowed slightly, more vulnerable. Flak started, black puffs appearing around us. Close, too close. Aircraft rocked, metal pinged. Someone shouted on the intercom. Fighter reported at 2 o'clock. I couldn't look. Had to maintain heading, maintain altitude, straight and level, no evasion, not on the bomb run. And then I saw it, the distortion. Subtle at first. The air above the city shimmered, like heat haze but wrong, too intense, too organized, and the shadows were wrong. Buildings cast shadows, but the shadows moved independent of the sun, shifted, rotated. I blinked, thought maybe it was exhaustion, oxygen deprivation, stress, but no, the shadows were definitely moving. "Skipper, you seeing something weird down there?" Williams asked, co-pilot. He'd noticed too. "Affirmative," I said. "Morrison, hold the drop." "Skipper, we're on target. Lead aircraft is dropping. Hold the drop. Something's wrong." And then it happened. The ground split, right down the center of the city. A crack appeared, black, perfectly straight, running north-south through the heart of Nagoya. And it widened, fast. Buildings on either side tilted inward. Streets buckled, the crack branched, secondary fractures spreading like veins, like the earth was shattering from below. "Jesus Christ," Morrison whispered. The city began sliding inward. Entire blocks, thousands of buildings, they didn't collapse, they slid, intact, toward the central crack, toward darkness. I could see the movement from 6,000 feet, could see structures tilting, falling, disappearing into the wound that had opened in reality. Power grids failed. I saw it happen. Lights across entire districts dying in waves, spreading outward from the crack. Streetlights, building lights, factory lights, all extinguishing in perfect sequence, like dominoes falling, like a switch being thrown, and dust rose. Massive clouds, brown and grey, rising from the fracture, consuming everything, but silent. We were too high to hear anything, but I could tell it was silent. The dust didn't explode outward. It rose straight up, like smoke from a chimney, like something was pulling it, drawing it into the sky. The crack widened. I estimated 200 meters across, maybe more, and deep. I couldn't see bottom, just darkness, absolute darkness that my eyes couldn't penetrate. Buildings fell into that darkness. Disappeared, swallowed completely, no rubble, no debris, just gone. As if the earth was eating them. Cars slid toward the crack. I could see them, tiny from this altitude but visible, moving against traffic, against drivers' intentions, pulled by whatever force was tearing the city apart. They disappeared into the darkness, vanished like they'd never existed, and people, I saw people, dots, hundreds, thousands, running, but running where? The crack spread faster than they could run. Secondary fractures cut off escape routes, surrounded blocks, isolated neighborhoods, and those areas tilted, slid, fell into the growing void. I watched an entire district, maybe 50 city blocks, break off like ice shelf and sink into darkness. Buildings, streets, people, all of it sliding away from the surface world into whatever waited below. The horizon bent. I'm certain of this. The curvature of the earth changed, warped around the city, around the crack, like gravity was focused on that point. Like something beneath the city was pulling not just the ground, but space itself. The horizon curved downward, creating optical illusion that the city was sliding into a bowl, into a depression. But it wasn't illusion. The ground was actually sinking, compressing, folding inward. My instruments went haywire. Altimeter showed us descending rapidly, 500 feet per second. But I could see the horizon, see other aircraft. We weren't descending. The ground was rising toward us, or we were falling toward it. I couldn't tell which. Compass spun, completing full rotation every 3 seconds. Artificial horizon tilted, showed us inverted, though I could feel we were level. Engine gauges fluctuated, oil pressure, fuel flow, RPM, all dancing across normal ranges. The B-29 groaned. Deep metallic sound, stress in the airframe, like the aircraft was being pulled apart by invisible hands. "Skipper, we need to get out of here," Williams shouted. I banked left, hard, breaking formation, breaking every rule, but I needed distance from whatever was happening below. Other aircraft did the same. Formation shattered. 30 B-29s scattering like birds fleeing a predator. Some climbed, some descended, some turned back toward the ocean, all of us fleeing, instinct overriding training, survival overriding mission. I looked back. The city was gone, not destroyed. Gone. Where Nagoya had been, where hundreds of thousands of people had lived, there was now a crater, massive, circular, maybe 5 kilometers across, perfectly smooth edges, as if someone had used giant cookie cutter and removed that section of Japan. Removed it completely. Buildings, streets, people, all of it just gone. And in the center of the crater, darkness. Not shadow, not smoke, darkness. Solid darkness that seemed to exist in 3 dimensions, that seemed to have depth and texture and presence. My eyes hurt looking at it. My head ached. I felt nauseous, disoriented, like the darkness was pulling at something inside me, something fundamental. "Did anyone else see that?" Chen asked over the intercom, his voice small, scared. "We all saw it," I said. "Morrison, did you get photographs?" "Camera was running, but I don't think it caught anything. The film might be ruined." "Radio silence," I ordered. "Nobody says anything over the radio, not until we're back at base." We flew back in silence. 4 hours, engine noise, vibration, cold, but all of us trapped in our own heads, processing what we'd witnessed, trying to make sense of it, trying to fit it into our understanding of reality. And failing, because there was no framework for this, no explanation, no category. The ground had opened beneath the city and swallowed it. That wasn't war. That wasn't bombing. That was something else entirely. We landed at 15:45 hours, touched down on Tinian's coral runway, rolled to our hard stand, shut down engines, climbed out. Ground crew met us with usual questions. How was the mission? Any damage? Any casualties? I told them to get the colonel. Immediately. This couldn't wait. Couldn't go through normal channels. Colonel Patterson arrived 20 minutes later. I'd gathered my crew, all 11 of us. We stood by Lucky Linda, exhausted, traumatized. Patterson looked annoyed. "This better be good, Hayes. You broke formation. You didn't drop your bombs. You deviated from mission parameters. What the hell happened up there?" I told him. Every detail. The crack, the collapse, the city disappearing, the darkness, the instrument failures, everything. Other crews gathered, listening. Some nodded. They'd seen it too, at least parts of it. Patterson's face changed as I spoke. from annoyed to concerned to frightened. Real fear. I'd never seen an officer show fear before. "You're certain about this?" Patterson asked. "Sir, we all saw it. My entire crew. Check the other crews. They saw it too." Patterson looked at the other pilots. Several nodded, confirmed. Patterson's jaw tightened. "Nobody talks about this. To anyone. Not to other crews. Not to ground personnel. Not in letters home. This is classified, highest level. I'll file the report. You all forget you saw anything. Understood?" "Sir, a city just disappeared," Morrison said. "Hundreds of thousands of people. We can't just—" "That's an order, Lieutenant. Forget it. Now dismiss." We were debriefed separately. Intelligence officers. Men in suits who weren't military. They asked the same questions over and over. "What exactly did you see? What time? What altitude? What were the weather conditions?" They took Morrison's camera, took all our notes, took our mission logs. They told us the same thing Patterson had. Forget it, national security. Need to know. We didn't need to know. 2 days later, we got new orders. Immediate transfer. Different bases. My crew was split up. Chen went to Guam. Morrison to Saipan, Kowalski back to the States, Williams to the Philippines, all of us scattered, isolated, prevented from comparing stories, from building a coherent narrative, from having any credibility if we talked. I was sent to Okinawa, flew 6 more missions before the war ended, atomic bombs dropped, Japan surrendered. I went home, got my discharge, used GI Bill to finish my engineering degree, got married, had kids, built a normal life, but I never forgot, never stopped seeing that crack opening, that darkness swallowing a city, those instruments spinning wildly, that horizon bending wrong. I tried researching it after the war. After enough time had passed that I thought maybe records would be declassified. I found nothing, no reports of Nagoya experiencing any unusual events on March 19, 1945, no seismic activity, no bombing damage to that particular district. The city existed before that day, it existed after, as if nothing had happened, as if we'd imagined the whole thing, but we didn't imagine it. 11 men in my crew saw it. Dozens of men in other crews saw it. We all saw the same thing, the same impossible thing, and it changed us. Morrison became alcoholic, killed himself in 1952. Chen never spoke about the war, died of heart attack in 1968. Kowalski spent time in psychiatric hospitals. Williams wrote me letters for years, describing nightmares, describing seeing that darkness in every shadow, every corner, every unlit space. He stopped writing in 1981. I don't know if he's still alive. I'm 81 now. My children think I have dementia, that my war stories have gotten confused with dreams and imagination. My grandchildren humor me when I talk about flying, but none of them believe me when I describe what I saw over Nagoya. They think it's PTSD, trauma manifesting as false memory, and maybe they're right. Maybe my mind broke that day and invented an impossible explanation for something explainable, for bombing damage or earthquake or mass hallucination caused by oxygen deprivation. But I don't think so. I think the ground really did open. I think a city really did fall into darkness. I think something beneath Japan, something ancient and hungry, woke up that day. And it ate. It consumed. It took hundreds of thousands of people and buildings and streets and erased them from existence. And then it closed, sealed itself, went back to sleep, and the world forgot. Or pretended to forget. Because acknowledging it would mean acknowledging that reality is thinner than we believe, that beneath the ground we walk on are things we don't understand, things that can reach up and pull entire cities into darkness without explanation. I still have my sister's compass, the brass one she gave me before I left. I look at it sometimes. The needle doesn't point north anymore, hasn't for 75 years, ever since that day over Nagoya. Now it spins, slowly, constantly, like it's searching for something, like it's trying to point toward that darkness, toward whatever opened beneath the city and swallowed it whole. My sister died in 1998. Never knew her good luck charm was broken. Never knew what I'd seen. Never knew that the world is stranger and more terrible than we're taught to believe. But I know. I saw it. I was there. 6,000 feet above a living city when the ground tore open like a wound. When buildings and streets and people slid into darkness that shouldn't exist, when reality broke its own rules and then pretended it hadn't. They buried every report. They scattered my crew. They classified everything. But the sky never forgets, and neither do I. That darkness is still there, beneath Japan, beneath other places too, probably, waiting, sleeping, ready to wake again when the conditions are right. When enough weight presses down, when enough lives congregate in one place, when the earth grows thin enough that something below can break through. And when it does, when another city falls, maybe someone will remember this testimony. Maybe someone will believe. Maybe someone will understand that what I saw wasn't war, wasn't bombing, wasn't anything human. It was the earth opening its mouth and eating. Tell me where you're watching from, and subscribe so you don't miss the next testimony the sky tried to erase. These stories need witnesses. These memories deserve to survive, even if no one believes them, even if they're impossible, especially because they're impossible. Comment below. Let me know you heard this. Let me know I'm not the last one who remembers. Please.